That's right. WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle joins us this afternoon. Jeff, you are tracking rain moving in for the second half of the work week, really.
Yeah, absolutely. We're still expecting some rain arriving as early as Friday, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But of course, all eyes on the weekend. And it's going to get wetter from here. Future radar is showing some scattered rain around Saturday, and likely it'll become a little bit more widespread later in the day. We'll, of course, track it out in detail coming up in your forecast. Right now, though, still great weather out there. We've got a little bit of an increase in cloud cover, but still nothing on WAAY 31 triple Doppler radar. Clean sweep across the area. Should stay that way through tomorrow, but Friday will be a different story. Looking live outside right now with our WAAY 31 Skycam network, powered by Thompson Roofing and Construction. We're showing you the view from Muscle Shoals right now. Thin cirrus clouds coming on in, and we expect those to thicken up through this evening and tonight, but still not expecting any rainfall out of them yet. Here's a breakdown of your forecast over the next 6 hours, falling out of the 60s and then a slow drop off into the 50s and eventually the 40s as the evening wears on. That cloud cover tonight, though, will hold our temperatures up just a little bit, so don't expect it to be quite as cold as you step out the door first thing tomorrow morning. We'll chat a little bit more about that. Still some mild weather ahead despite the rain chances. Full details on the way in your WAAY 31 Storm Tracker forecast.
Thanks, Jeff. Rain or shine, get Jeff's latest forecast plus access to our 31 triple Doppler anytime, anywhere when the storms return. Download it today for Apple and Android devices. Alabama appears to be on track to have a vote on a lottery and gaming legislation bill. A group of state lawmakers laid out a proposal that will be considered this session.
It covers how a lottery, casinos, sports betting, and a statewide regulatory commission would all operate. WAAY 31 reporter Jillian Kay joins us live in Ardmore this afternoon. Jillian, you spent the day talking with lottery players there who are just eager for a chance to vote on a lottery here in Alabama.
That's right, Marie. I did speak to a lot of people out here in Ardmore, Tennessee who are playing the lottery. They all tell me they cannot wait to see it come to Alabama soon. Many are hoping to save on gas. Without a lottery in Alabama now, many find themselves driving to Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi, you name it. But for one Huntsville woman I spoke with who plays the lottery religiously, she's hoping to have her money help Alabama students.
Because I'm up here in Tennessee now giving my money, and it could really go towards the schools in Alabama and other programs.
If the bill is approved, voters would be given the chance to bring the lottery to Alabama. This is something that hasn't happened since voters rejected a lottery proposal in 1999. And coming up at WAAY 31 News at 5, find out how much money Tennessee makes from the lottery, who that money goes to, and how that revenue could soon be coming to Alabama. I'm live in Ardmore with coverage you can count on. Jillian Kay, WAAY 31 News.
Well, Governor Kay Ivey offered her support for a gaming bill during the State of the State address on Tuesday night. She hopes Alabamians will support the legislation that covers both illegal gambling and regulating forms of legal gambling. Governor Ivey also introduced an education savings account bill. The CHOOSE Act would provide up to $7,000 per child enrolled at a participating private or public school. It would also provide up to $2,000 for families who opt to homeschool. Governor Ivey praised the legislature's willingness to take the first steps towards school choice last year, but stressed the need to keep pushing.
For some families, that means having the chance to send their child to a charter, a magnet, or private school, or to homeschool them. School choice is a spectrum. And last year, we recognized that to expand our options in Alabama, we had to first improve our existing options, charter schools, and the Alabama Accountability Act.
If it passes, the CHOOSE Act would only cover families who meet certain requirements for the first 2 years starting in 2025, but it would expand to cover all Alabama families in its third year.
One North Alabama lawmaker wants to make protesting outside someone's house a crime. State Senator Arthur Orr of Decatur introduced that legislation on Tuesday. It would make protesting near a home a Class C misdemeanor with a second offense resulting in a Class B misdemeanor. You may remember this scene outside of Decatur Mayor Tab Bowling's house in December. Protesters with the Justice for Steve Perkins movement say Bowling turned the sprinklers on them before police showed up. Senator Orr's bill also includes language requiring police to offer a warning before arresting anyone for protesting near a house. Lawmakers will also consider a state constitutional amendment aimed at protecting parental rights. They passed a bill last year dealing with the same topic. State Representative Kenneth Pascal says he introduced the amendment because it carries more weight than a state law. Both identify parental rights as a fundamental right that cannot be taken away unless there is good reason to do so. A quick heads up for some voters in Florence, your polling location may have changed. If you normally vote at the Handy Recreational Center, you will now cast your ballot at Mount Moriah Primitive Baptist Church. The Lauderdale County probate judge says the change was necessary because of renovations at the Handy Center. Fallout from the latest legal setback for former President Trump.
A federal court ruled against the former president's claim of immunity in a federal case accusing him of trying to overturn the 2020 election. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
A major legal blow to former President Donald Trump, a federal court issuing a unanimous ruling deciding he's not immune to prosecution in the federal election interference case against him.
It was a rebuke of every single argument that Donald Trump's legal team had made and every argument that Donald Trump has been making publicly.
2 judges on the panel were appointed by Democrat presidents and one by a Republican, releasing a statement saying, "We cannot accept that the office of the presidency places its former occupants above the law for all time thereafter." Trump attacking the decision and vowing to appeal, maintaining that in order to do the job effectively, a president must have complete and absolute immunity.
You're going to have to allow a president, any president, to have immunity so that that president can act and do what he feels and what his group of advisors feel is the absolute right thing.
But the court's decision making it clear that the allegations that he tried to illegally block Joe Biden from being certified as president could be serious potential crimes. The court writing, former President Trump's alleged efforts to remain in power despite losing the 2020 election were, if proven, an unprecedented assault on the structure of our government. He allegedly injected himself into a process in which the president has no role, the counting and certifying of the Electoral College votes, thereby undermining constitutionally established procedures and the will of the Congress. The case expected to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Trump's legal troubles also continue in Colorado. On Thursday, Supreme Court justices will hear arguments on a ruling that banned Trump from the state's primary ballot. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel offered to leave her position following the South Carolina primary later this month. Party advisors say this change would allow former President Donald Trump to install his own party chair. This comes as tensions between Trump and the RNC heightened in recent days. Several names for McDaniel's replacement have been floated around. This includes Michael Whatley, North Carolina's Republican Party chairman, and Drew McKissick, South Carolina's Republican Party chairman. A massive search underway now in California. The 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing says 5 Marines are missing after officials discovered their military helicopter in Pine Valley.
That helicopter was initially reported overdue to a Marine Corps air station Tuesday night. It departed on a training flight from Creech Air Force Base near Las Vegas and was traveling to Miramar. Rescue crews are now dealing with heavy snow as they look for the missing Marines.
We're out in a remote area right now. We're in rugged terrain, so they have ropes, any type of first aid equipment, medical equipment that they're going to need to treat any victims that they find. They've got stuff to stay warm in cold weather, so they're fully outfitted and fully prepared.
The Super Stallion heavy lift helicopter can move troops and equipment and carry as much as 16 tons of cargo, according to the Navy. In the past decade, though, these helicopters have been involved in several crashes, including 2 that were deadly. Raising awareness for women's heart health. Coming up, how WAAY 31 is going red for this year's Woman of Impact campaign.
And Republicans and Democrats going head-to-head on Capitol Hill over a border bill. New and next at 4. Less than an hour ago, senators taking the first step on legislation many say was doomed from the beginning.
And the weather becomes more impactful heading into the weekend. I'll have the latest details on the rain ahead in your forecast.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News at 4 with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, and Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle.
Breaking news now in Philadelphia. This is a live look at the scene where someone shot 2 police officers. You can see one home there is on fire at the scene. You can see that smoke there, dead center of your screen, billowing. We're told police were called there for reports of a shooting.
Sources told the ABC station in Philly that an 11-year-old was shot in that home. Sources say authorities worry the child and that shooting suspect could still be in that burning home. And because of the danger to firefighters and other first responders, they are staging down the street, as you can see.
Also breaking news now right out of Alabama. Legendary Alabama football coach Nick Saban joins ESPN less than a month after retiring from WAAY. ESPN says he will work primarily as an analyst on the set of College Game Day. He'll also contribute to ESPN's NFL draft coverage and make appearances tied to SEC Media Days.
New at 4, a Huntsville man is behind bars following a standoff with police officers. Huntsville police say a SWAT team and U.S. Marshals were serving 2 warrants for Jamari Battle on Tuesday evening. That's when they say the 21-year-old barricaded himself inside an apartment off Academy Drive. He was eventually arrested and jailed on the warrants for aggravated assault and robbery. Madison County investigators arrested a Montgomery man for theft and financial exploitation of the elderly. Court records show Karan Shaw is accused of taking $80,000 from a woman in Madison County. He's now locked up on a $200,000 bond. We have reached out to the Madison County investigators for more information about this arrest.
It is 4:15 and you're taking a live look at Capitol Hill, where Republicans plan to sink legislation despite GOP leaders previously demanding a bill with border security. Democrats blame the chaos on former President Trump, who's been blasting the border proposal for days. ABC's M. Wynn shows us this is happening amid a record surge of illegal immigrants crossing at the southern border.
It's a political power struggle in a deeply divided government. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer exasperated with congressional Republicans, accusing them of sabotaging border solutions.
America will know who is for fixing the border and who is not.
The vote to advance the border bill, which includes $20 billion in border security, something Republicans had fought for, and billions in aid for Ukraine and Israel, failed on the Senate floor, with the majority of Republicans voting against it. Schumer also offering up a second vote just on foreign aid. The border bill, as expected, was doomed after former President Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson came out against it. For his part, Speaker Johnson doing damage control today after rushing an Israel aid bill and then rushing out of the Capitol last night after failing to get enough votes even from his own party.
We live in a time of divided government. We have a razor-thin margin here, and every vote counts.
The GOP speaker also failing to grab enough votes to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over the border issues.
Yeah, on impeachment, last night was a setback, but democracy is messy.
Mayorkas at a Super Bowl security briefing today urged Congress to act on funding border security instead of trying to impeach him.
The allegations are baseless, and I'm focused on the work, which was what brings me to Las Vegas today.
Democrats call the effort politically motivated. Still, Johnson has vowed to bring up another impeachment vote on Mayorkas as soon as next week. M. Wynn, ABC News, Washington.
The U.S. Census Bureau will not move forward with a controversial change. Now, the Bureau previously proposed a new set of questions that would have asked people with a disability to rate their level of difficulty with certain activities instead of just answering yes or no questions. The agency's director says the proposed questions could have shrunk the estimated rate of disability here in the U.S. by about 40%.
Lufthansa airline staff walked off the job at 5 major German airports. That caused ripple effects to airlines down the line, canceling hundreds of flights. It is part of a 27-hour strike by a German trade union. They're seeking to raise pay for nearly 25,000 employees. And while Lufthansa does not fly directly in or out of Huntsville International, the airline did cancel 2 flights from Frankfurt to Birmingham. A good day for your 401k. On Wall Street, stocks climbed to some new records on some positive earnings reports. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 156 points to close at 38,677. The NASDAQ Composite Index rose 148 points. The S&P 500 closed up to a new record high, now less than 5 points away from 5,000 after adding 41 points.
Now, WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle with 31 Triple Doppler.
Well, let's say it ain't so, but I think it is. Our beautiful, pleasant weather's coming to an end.
Yeah, the party's about ready to wrap up.
Oh, now the real fun begins, just in time for the weekend.
Just in time for the weekend, I know. That's sometimes the way it works out. Still expecting rain throughout the weekend. Maybe not a total washout, at least from beginning to end, but a little difficult to get in those plans. Let's talk about your threat tracker first. And still no issues for us tomorrow. Now, the clouds will return. We're already starting to see them move back across the area, and they will thicken through your Thursday, but no concerns in terms of impacts out of that. We will remain dry. We'll throw up the caution flag here on Friday. There will be some scattered showers, nothing that looks super major in terms of rainfall, but we'll dampen some of those plans. And then for Saturday, that's going to be the most impactful day. Some steady rain coming on in. Now, I'm not expecting flooding rainfall. I'm not expecting a threat of severe weather. So this will really be nuisance type of rain, but definitely something to factor in as you start ready to plan for the upcoming weekend. Still no changes here on the rainfall forecast over the next week. And keep in mind, this is all going to fall between Friday and Monday of next week, it looks like. 1 to 2 inches here still around the shoals up towards Fayetteville there in southern middle Tennessee, and near and south of the Tennessee River, 2 to maybe as much as 3 inches of rain before it is all said and done. So this will, again, not be enough to cause any big problems out there with flooding, but certainly will be useful in terms of the drought situation, which, by the way, tomorrow is Thursday. In the morning, we will get an update on the latest drought conditions here across North Alabama and southern middle Tennessee, and we'll have details on that when that comes out through the day tomorrow. Right now, nothing showing up on a triple Doppler radar here across North Alabama, southern middle Tennessee. Clean sweep, the Shoals, Decatur, our Guntersville radar all looking clear, and it will remain that way for at least another 24 hours, and then just beyond that, rain will start to make a return. We do stay quiet overnight tonight. Cloud cover will continue to fill on in. 6 o'clock on your Thursday morning, expecting to wake up to those gray skies, and probably will get a little bit grayer through the day tomorrow. Perhaps a glimpse or two of sunshine, but not expecting to have too much of that on the way tomorrow. But at least at this point, tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock, still should be dry across the area, so no problems for either the morning or the afternoon commute. Heading into Friday, though, different stories. 6 o'clock in the morning Friday, some scattered areas of showers, maybe not necessarily raining everywhere, and that'll be the trend through midday on your Friday, and then perhaps a little bit of a drying trend briefly late afternoon, early evening before some steadier rain starts to set in a little bit later on into Friday night, and especially as we head through the day on Saturday. Cloud cover coming in tonight means it will not be as cold. We won't have a freeze out there. We won't see frost like we've had the last couple of nights, but still will be a chill in the air. Down to 40 degrees in Huntsville, 39 in Guntersville and Scottsboro, Decatur 42 tonight, 43 degrees in the Shoals. We take you through the day tomorrow, and those overcast skies will trim the temperatures a little bit. Still not bad, though, for early February, as we'll make a run to close to 60. 48 around 9 in the morning, 58 around 1, and again very close to that 60-degree mark late in the afternoon tomorrow. We'll probably hit it in a few spots. Scottsboro, Stevenson around 61, same for Hollywood, 60 degrees in Hazel Green and Huntsville tomorrow. Down towards Arab will be at 59, 61 for Falkville and Decatur, Rogersville 61, 62 in Florence, and 62 degrees as well in Cherokee tomorrow afternoon. Breaking down your WAAY 31 Storm Tracker 10-day forecast. Again, clouds but dry tomorrow. Clouds and rain after that. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on into your Monday, expecting to see, again, scattered wet weather out there. Temperatures will be running in the 60s for highs through the weekend. I am tracking some cooler weather next week, but nothing significantly colder on the way.
The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is poised on the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center. On board, NASA's PACE, Plankton Aerosol Cloud Ocean Environment spacecraft. And PACE is NASA's newest Earth-observing satellite. It'll help increase our understanding of Earth's oceans, the atmosphere, and climate by delivering some unique observations of phytoplankton in the ocean, as well as new data on clouds and aerosols. The launch has been delayed twice due to bad weather near the Space Coast, but it is improving. Liftoff now scheduled for tonight at about midnight Central Time. NASA has discovered what they describe as a super Earth. It orbits a red dwarf star, smaller and a little cooler than our sun. A year, one orbit around its sun lasts just 19 days on super Earth. Imagine all the birthday parties. This exoplanet joins the list of habitable zone planets that could be more closely scrutinized by the James Webb Space Telescope for signs of an atmosphere. And by astronomical standards, it's actually fairly close to us, only 137 light years away.
Well, a heads up for Honda owners. The automaker recalled 750,000 vehicles over airbag issues. 12 models are impacted, including Civics, Accords, CR-Vs, and Acuras. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the airbags will deploy during a crash when they're not supposed to, and it could cause injuries to infants in car seats and children. Impacted owners can take cars to the dealership for a free replacement part. Raising awareness for women's heart health. Coming up, a look at our 9-week campaign to raise awareness for heart health as WAAY 31 goes red.
And a former JROTC instructor for Huntsville City Schools charged with sex crimes with a student. New information we've uncovered next at 4:30.
Nice and mild once again today. I'll show you if these pleasant temperatures will stick around into the weekend on the way in your forecast.
you can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 4:30.
Another fantastic day today, but it is all about to change heading into the weekend. I'll have the latest details on the way in your forecast.
And a former JROTC instructor at 2 Huntsville City schools accused of sex crimes with the student. I'm WAAY 31's Paige Meyer digging into the veteran's past as he remains out on bond this afternoon.
WAAY 31 goes red for women, the key symptoms you need to know and how we plan to keep the conversation going.
1 in 5 Alabama families could lose access to their internet. The deadline for enrolling in the Affordable Connectivity Program and why the Biden administration is slowing it down. New at 4:30, we're uncovering new information about the former Huntsville JROTC instructor indicted for engaging in a sex act with a student. Dwayne Yarbrough was arrested Sunday. He's charged with a school employee engaging in a sex act and a school employee having sexual contact with a student under the age of 19. WAAY 31's Paige Meyer spent the day digging into this incident and Yarbrough himself. Paige, what information have you uncovered for us?
Dan, I learned that Yarbrough's crime allegedly started around 2019 here at Lee High School. Now, I spoke to the Madison County Chief Trial Attorney at the DA's office, and he confirmed with me that that student was in fact a girl. Now, a spokesperson with the Huntsville City School District said Yarbrough was a JORTC instructor at Lee and New Century Technology High School from July 2016 to October 2022. Huntsville City Schools did not comment any further about Yarbrough's employment. Now, prior to his time at Lee, he served in the United States Army from March 1986 to June of 2013. The U.S. Army Human Resources Command shows Yarbrough received countless accolades in his time serving. Jail records show Yarbrough bonded out of the Madison County Jail Sunday. His bond was set at $15,000. Now I reached out to multiple agencies today to learn more about the situation, including Yarbrough and the student here at Lee High School. Now I reached out to several of the Huntsville City school officials, and they're waiting to get back to me. Now, coming up on WAAY 31 News at 5, you'll hear from one of Yarbrough's neighbors about his recent indictment. But for now, reporting live in Huntsville with coverage you can count on. Paige Meyer, WAAY 31 News.
One state senator filed a bill to terminate retirement benefits for certain teachers or other school employees. It would apply to those convicted of a sexual offense involving a student or minor. If passed, the law would go into effect July 1st. Happening now is an urgent search is underway for 5 missing Marines after their helicopter went down. First responders found the chopper, but so far no sign of the Marines.
The crew was headed to San Diego from Nevada during that dangerous storm. ABC's Tim Pulliam has the latest from Los Angeles.
The helicopter was flying from Creech Air Force Base near Las Vegas and heading to Miramar near San Diego last night, but was reported overdue, meaning it never arrived. This is a CH-53E Super Stallion helicopter. It's the largest and heaviest helicopter used by the U.S. military. The Marines telling ABC News 5 Marines were on board that helicopter last night. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office says it received a call just before 2 in the morning asking for help, but its own search helicopter could not reach the search area due to the extreme weather. Crews from the Sheriff's Department are now using off-road vehicles to look. The search area is in a remote forest area. The San Diego Sheriff's Office says the helicopter did stop to refuel east of the city, but that it never arrived in Miramar. M. Wynn, ABC News, Washington.
Let's get our first look at the forecast for this half hour.
Yeah, we got some changing things in store for us, though,
we do.
Despite the beautiful day.
Chief meteorologist Jeff Castle joins us now with those sort of depressing details, I guess.
Yeah, I'm about ready
into the weekend.
You know, I've had it pretty easy here the first few days.
Yeah.
Dry weather, sunshine, but that is all about to change. Rain.
Get to work.
Yeah, coming back for the weekend, unfortunately, and so that's going to put a damper on plans for Saturday and Sunday activities. Let's kind of talk about it again. Things are quiet right now, though, so enjoy it while it lasts. Pleasant temperatures as well. We're not complaining about the numbers whatsoever. Another day in the mid and even some upper 60s. Look at Muscle Shoals right now, the warm spots across North Alabama and southern Middle Tennessee at 68, 65 Huntsville this afternoon, 64 in Fayetteville, 64 degrees in Athens as well. It is quiet once again here on WAAY 31 Triple Doppler. No problems with any precip out there for now, but within the next, we'll say 36 hours, it's going to change. I think we get through tonight, tomorrow on a dry note, but heading into Thursday night and Friday, different story, and I'll have another look at those rain chances coming up in your forecast in just a few minutes. Beautiful shots, though, here. The high thin clouds are on the increase, might actually make for a nice sunset in some areas before they thicken up too much. Huntsville, Decatur, over toward Muscle Shoals, Gunnersville, all looking at quiet and calm conditions. So if you're waiting for someone to get home from work this afternoon, weather won't slow it down. Of course, you know, traffic could be a whole other issue. Evening planner looking like this. We will cool, but not as quickly as the last few nights. Clouds coming in will act as a blanket, hold up the temperatures just slightly, but still we'll probably want a light jacket as we drop through the 50s through 7, 8 o'clock and then into the 40s after that. I'll be back in a few moments getting latest details on that weekend rain on the way in your WAAY 31 Storm Tracker forecast.
Thanks, Jeff. You can always stay ahead of the weather with the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. You'll get access to the most advanced weather technology in the Tennessee Valley. That's our 31 triple Doppler. It's free for iPhone and Android devices. WAAY 31 is going red to raise awareness for heart health with a specific focus on women.
That's right. I'm joining forces with women not just here in Alabama, but across the country as we raise awareness for heart health through the 2024 Woman of Impact campaign. Now, over the next 9 weeks, we'll share valuable information on air and online that can help us all take control of our cardiovascular health and live longer, healthier lives. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for both men and women. Heart attacks do not discriminate, but it's still often considered a man's disease.
Part of it is I feel like women wait a little bit longer to come in. They downplay their symptoms. And then sometimes it's harder for health professionals to recognize the symptoms of heart disease in women because they do present differently.
As with men, the most common heart attack symptom is chest pain or discomfort, but women may experience other symptoms that are typically less associated with heart attack, such as shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting, back pain or jaw pain, dizziness, and fainting, as well as extreme fatigue.
And I'm not talking about, tired at the end of a long day. I'm talking about they can't get out of bed in the morning, they can't do their normal daily activities without feeling exhausted, and that may be a new symptom for them. And again, sometimes it's just a little more subtle than the lights and sirens symptoms that men present with a heart attack.
As Dr. Crystal Walker explained, ladies, we often confuse and misdiagnose those signs as anxiety and stress.
Women are often caretakers for everybody around them, and they often downplay their own symptoms or their own health because they're busy taking care of everybody else.
Join us next Wednesday as we take a look at the negative impacts of stress and ways we can work on focusing to reduce some of the stress in our own lives. In the meantime, you can follow our heart health discussions as we work to raise awareness and save lives in North Alabama and beyond. And that is coverage you can count on. Record credit card debt squeezing the wallets of millions of Americans.
New and next in a live report how this could impact you and your financial future.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News at 4:30 with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, and Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle.
Consumer confidence is up, and so is consumer spending.
But it's not without consequences, with one generation particularly strained to start 2024. Karen Kaifa joins us live from Washington this afternoon with the details. Karen?
Well, Marie and Dan, recent economic growth has been driven largely by the U.S. consumer. Households continue to spend even with interest rates at a 23-year high, but it's all starting to catch up. A report this week released by the New York Federal Reserve says that credit card delinquencies are the highest they have been in the last decade. 3 years of high inflation plus higher interest rates to tame it have equaled more financial stress on the American consumer, especially when it comes to credit cards.
More people are carrying more credit card debt for longer periods of time. We're talking record high balances, record high interest rates. It's a tough combination, unfortunately.
A report released Tuesday by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York said credit card balances rose to a new high of $1.13 trillion in the final 3 months of 2023. And credit card and auto loan delinquencies pushed past pre-pandemic levels to their highest levels in more than a decade. Researchers at the New York Fed believe the post-pandemic resumption of federal student loan payments has added to the financial stress, particularly for people ages 30 to 39. Bankrate senior industry analyst Ted Rossman says he'll be looking closely at the New York Fed's next report in May. Typically, credit card balances fall in the first quarter of the year. In 2023, they did not, which can be a troubling sign about consumers' ability to keep up.
People always have this enthusiasm about New Year's resolutions and debt payoff, and you knock out that holiday debt hangover. Last year, people really weren't able to do that, and that was largely because of high prices and high rates. And I do worry that we may see some of the same this year.
And the last quarter of the year typically does bring higher credit card balances as consumers rely on them a little bit more to cover holiday spending. But some economists say even though inflation has peaked, the impact on household debt and budgets is probably going to stick around for a while longer. Marie and Dan?
Karen, the report from the New York Fed pointed to millennials under a greater financial strain right now. Why do they say this generation is feeling more of a squeeze?
So millennials, they say ages 30 to 39, feel the same financial pressures that pretty much every American is feeling right now because of higher interest rates, the credit card balances, the mortgages, the auto loans that have become more expensive. But the New York Fed researchers said that this generation tends to carry more student loan debt. And this report looked at the final 3 months of 2023. In October of 2023, federal student loan payments resumed, and all of a sudden, those millennials found themselves responsible for paying those bills in a way that they hadn't during that 3-year pandemic pause. So, with millennials carrying a more student loan debt than their parents did and other generations, it's making it a little bit tougher for them to get things together and pay the bills every month, Marie.
And Karen, what role have these high interest rates played in the increase in consumer debt, and what kind of relief will we see when the Fed finally starts to roll them back?
Yeah, it's been a big difference for consumers, Dan, because remember, before the Fed started that rate hike, interest rates were close to zero, and consumers got really comfortable with that. Now, as the benchmark interest rate has gone up, for example, credit cards, the average interest rate on a credit card right now is upwards of 20%. So if you're carrying a balance from month to month, you are adding that interest on top of it. Now, the Federal Reserve has indicated that they plan probably to start to peel back those interest rates later this year at some point, but it's not going to be right down to zero right away. So consumers, households are going to have to continue to deal with higher interest rates than what they were used to for at least the immediate future.
Karen Kaifa reporting live for us. Thank you for that report.
Well, putting money into the hands of almost 50 million Americans who serve as caregivers. The Credit for Caring Act would offer up to $5,000 in tax credits to cover certain expenses. People who earn more than $7,500 a year and have expenses to provide long-term care for their spouse or another relative are eligible. AARP estimates more than 48 million Americans are considered caregivers, and it states they provide some $600 billion in unpaid care every year. Well, happening right now, hundreds of thousands of Alabama families could lose their internet in just a few months.
The Affordable Connectivity Program will stop accepting new enrollments at 11 o'clock tonight. The Biden administration says the program's remaining funding is set to run out in May if Congress does not allocate more money. Eligible low-income households can receive discounts of up to $30 per month on internet service. Here in Alabama, it has already saved Alabama families about almost $12 million each month.
Now, WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle with 31 Triple Doppler.
Oh, good afternoon again, everyone. We're working our way closer to the weekend. Of course, Wednesday, we're halfway there. Unfortunately, as we're getting closer, don't have better news in terms of rainfall. We are still expecting to see wet weather. Rain at times Saturday, rain chance sitting at 90%, 63 will be the high. Sunday, not as wet, but still some scattered showers likely. Temperatures, though, not bad. Hanging on there into the low 60s despite the wet weather. We are going to break down the rain chances for you as you try to start planning things here. And keep in mind, we may adjust these numbers a little bit as we get closer. So check back with us for the updates. I'll, of course, continue to have the latest readings for you coming up at 5, 6, and 10. And meteorologist Grace Anello, she will have updates for you tomorrow morning. As it stands right now, Friday into Friday night, rain chance 60%. Saturday into Saturday night, it gets wetter. 90 to a 100% chance for rain then. And then the chances do drop off a little bit on Sunday, but not going to completely disappear. Coming up on 5 o'clock, we're going to be talking a little bit more with future radar about that rainfall for the weekend. I'll show you what it is showing in regards to timing and how intense it may be at times. Right now, though, no concerns on WAAY 31 Triple Doppler. All quiet out there for now. That changes, though, by the end of the week. Cloud cover will be the change coming in this evening and tonight, so don't expect to have as much sunshine by any stretch tomorrow as we've seen thus far this week. But at the same time, you can see 6 o'clock in the morning on your Thursday, we will have a dry start. Cloudy skies persist around the noon hour tomorrow, maybe an occasional thin spot in the clouds, allowing a peak or two of sunshine, but that's about as good as it'll get for us tomorrow. But again, still not expecting rainfall. Here's 5 o'clock on your Thursday. Forecast remains a dry one. Thursday night, though, into Friday will be a different story. And again, we'll track that rain out in more detail with future radar coming up at 5 o'clock. Breakdown of what you can expect tomorrow morning. Positive note, cloud cover means it won't be as cold stepping out. Temperatures, though, still chilly enough. You'll want that warm jacket or sweater. 42 around 6 in the morning, 45 at 8. Will be still hanging there in the 40s around 9 o'clock in the morning. As we work our way into tomorrow afternoon, those still should manage to warm up despite limited sunshine, if much at all out there. But we are going to bring the temperatures back down slightly from what we've had in recent days. Muscle Shoals, once again, maybe one of the warmer spots at 63. Huntsville, 60. Athens, 61. 59 in Guntersville tomorrow, and around 61 for that high tomorrow over in Scottsboro. Breaking down here, your WAAY 31 Storm Tracker 10-day forecast. Again, gray skies tomorrow. Highs will be around 60. Gray skies on Friday, but not dry anymore. 60% on your rain chances. We will have some scattered wet weather through the day. 63 will be the high. Again, weekend looks soggy. Saturday wetter than Sunday as it stands at this point in time, and even expecting to see some scattered wet weather continuing Monday of next week. Temperatures will remain in the 60s through the weekend, and then we do bring in some cooler air. I won't necessarily say colder air at this point in time, but getting back actually to a little bit more typical February temperatures, back into the 50s for your highs throughout a large part of next week. Should get you back to sunshine and dry weather as well starting on Tuesday. We'll be back right after this break with more WAAY 31 News at 4. Stay with us.
New at 4:30, a lot of love for the Shoals music scene at the Grammys over the weekend. The Blind Boys from Alabama won a Grammy for the Best Roots Gospel Album. It was produced by Florence-based Single Lock Records. Engineer and producer Ben Tanner says this shows the world that the Shoals music scene is still alive and vibrant. Lauderdale County native, of course, Jason Isbell in the 400 unit also won 2 Grammys, one for Best Americana Album and another for Best American Roots Song. Well, throughout Black History Month, WAAY 31 is honoring the achievements and legacies of African Americans right here in the Tennessee Valley.
WAAY 31's Dave Brazelton today spotlights a Madison County woman who has been an engineer and an author, along with having an impact in the real estate industry for decades.
Sandra Brazelton has had a rewarding career as a scientist, engineer, author, and successful real estate broker. She is the CEO of Quality Tech Properties, which has handled millions of dollars in transactions in the area.
I love Huntsville. My father was born here. My ancestry goes through slavery, and I'm very proud of that. I came into real estate in the 80s, and it was still a big adjustment for a black female. I'm a retired engineer, so there was a lot of people who told me what I could or could not do, but the intestinal fortitude, because nobody has permission to tell you what you can or cannot do. You have the birthright to succeed.
Sandra is a #1 best-selling author, empowerment thought leader, and community advocate.
We flourished for over 30 years. My daughter, Alex Brazelton Boyd, is running the 2nd generation with excellence, and we're very honored to be part of this community.
She has witnessed the rapid growth of the Huntsville area. However, one of her goals is to ensure home ownership for everyone, despite income levels.
Our mission as a company is to help bridge that gap. So we wrote Wills, Probate, and Real Estate. My daughter and I, it's the #1 bestseller, and the goal is to educate us on the whole process so that we can divest the real estate the way we want it. We can make sure that we take care of generational wealth.
Empowering citizens to own their share of the Tennessee Valley. Sandra Brazelton and Quality Tech Properties, celebrating the history and impact of African Americans in the Tennessee Valley. Dave Brazelton, WAAY 31 News.
And you can see the entire interview with Sandra Brazelton in a special Black History Month section on our website, waaytv.com. Coming up next on WAAY 31 News at 5, Alabamians could have another chance to vote on lottery and gambling legislation.
We sent WAAY 31 reporter Jillian Kay to get reaction from North Alabamians driving across the state line for a chance to play.
can count on. This is WAAY 31 News at 5.
We are hearing from a neighbor of the former Huntsville school employee indicted for having sex with a student. It's a story you can watch only right here on WAAY 31.
And we could soon be voting on whether or not to legalize the lottery. WAAY 31 reporter Jillian Kay standing by with what lotto players had to say about this new possibility.
And I'm still tracking our next big weather maker for the weekend. I'll have an update on Saturday, Sunday rain chances on the way in your WAAY 31 storm tracker forecast.
Thanks for joining us for WAAY 31 News at 5. I'm Dan Schaefer.
And I'm Marie Waxel. New and only on WAAY 31 News at 5. We're now hearing from a neighbor of the former Huntsville JROTC instructor indicted for engaging in a sex act with a student. Dwayne Yarbrough has been charged with a school employee engaging in a sex act and a school employee having sexual contact with a student under the age of 19.
WAAY 31's Paige Meyer joins us live now from Lee and New Century Tech High Schools. They share the same campus, and that's where Yarbrough was formerly employed. Paige, what information have you uncovered for us?
Dan, I learned that Yarbrough allegedly had sex with a female student who attended Lee High School here behind me. Now, I actually talked to some of Yarbrough's neighbors today who said they never expected such harsh allegations against the veteran. Now, Marion Becker tells me their neighborhood is usually filled with children playing outside. She says even though she doesn't know Yarbrough personally, this hits close to home for her as she is a retired teacher. And for her husband, he worked on a special task force regarding internet crimes against children. She says it's heartbreaking that parents have to worry about their children when they send them off to school.
It's enough to be able to caution your children about walking from here to there and not talking to people, not ever going to a home. But once they get to school, you shouldn't have to worry at all. I hold teachers to a higher standard, just like I do law enforcement to a higher standard. They should know better.
Marion says anyone who commits a sex crime against a child should stay behind bars. Yarbrough has since been out on bond since Sunday. I'm working to learn more information about the events that led up to Yarbrough's time here at Lee. Now make sure to stick around for WAAY 31 News at 6 as I will bring you more info and more updates from this neighbor. But for now, reporting live in Huntsville with coverage you can count on. Paige Meyer, WAAY 31 News.
Thank you, Paige. One Alabama senator is trying to crack down on cases like Yarbrough's. Senator Arthur Orr filed a bill that terminates a teacher's or school employee's retirement if the teacher or school employee is convicted of a sexual offense involving a student or minor. If passed, the bill could go into effect on July 1st. Madison County investigators arrested a Montgomery man for theft and financial exploitation of the elderly. Court records show Karan Shaw is accused of taking $80,000 from a woman in Madison County. He's now locked up on $200,000 bond. We have reached out to Madison County investigators for more information about this arrest.
Some bold thieves knocked down and stole an entire 200-foot AM radio tower in Birmingham. It was discovered Friday when landscapers went to clean the tower site, which is at a separate location from the station itself and is surrounded by woods. Now, they call the owner of WJLX to report the tower was gone. Every piece of equipment was also stolen from the small transmitter building at the site.
This really hurts a small operation like this, but like I say, I believe we're going to find out who did this. It's a federal crime, and it absolutely will not be worth it to them.
Now, with the tower gone, the AM signal is off the air, but the station continues broadcasting through its FM translator. The owner says the property was not insured, and it could cost somewhere in the six figures just to replace the tower. Well, what an absolutely beautiful sunny day all across North Alabama.
Yeah, sticking with severe weather expert storm tracker Jeff Castle for a look at the forecast. Jeff, today's pretty much the last day of this nice stretch of weather.
That's absolutely right. In fact, we're already starting to see the cloud cover coming on in across portions of North Alabama and southern Middle Tennessee. That's a precursor to our next weather maker, which we're still expecting to get impacts from over the weekend, starting Friday, and likely continuing through the beginning of next week as well. And I'll have details on that with future radar coming up in your forecast in just a few minutes. Right now, you can see those clouds on the increase all across the area, out there towards the Space and Rocket Center, 565. It's 62, though, despite the clouds moving on in Huntsville. Decatur's at 60. The Shoals right now also looking at 63, 59 in Gunnersville. Of course, all these views part of our WAAY 31 Skycam network powered by Thompson Roofing and Construction. Live Doppler as we check out our triple Doppler network, and it is a clean sweep once again. It's been that way all week long. We will not end the work week, though, with similar conditions, and we'll be, again, chatting more about the return of rain starting on Friday, coming up in your forecast. For this evening, though, no rain concerns, and even the temperatures won't drop off as quickly due to the cloud cover coming on in tonight. Still in the 50s around 8, then we'll see a slow drop in the 40s between 10 and the time we wake up tomorrow morning. Not expecting frost or freeze conditions like we had earlier this morning heading into your Thursday morning. So if there's a silver lining, is that it won't be quite as cold as you step out early in the day tomorrow. I'll be back in a few moments, getting all the details on that weekend ahead coming up in your forecast.
Take any silver linings we can get. Thanks, Jeff. Alabamians could soon have the chance to vote on and legalize gaming throughout the state. A group of Alabama representatives and senators laid out their plans today in Montgomery for you to vote in November. WAAY 31 reporter Jillian Kay spent the day on the state line talking with lottery players, and she joins us live from Ardmore, Tennessee right now. Jillian.
Well, Dan, these lotto players are eager to see change. $7 billion in revenue in Tennessee, here in Ardmore and across the state goes toward education. Most people I spoke with here today, they tell me that they want to see something similar happen in Alabama. Alabama representatives say their proposal would make a state lottery, casinos, bingo, sports betting, and raffles legal. I spoke to one man eager to see gaming legal in Alabama. He says he has a family friend in Georgia who had their entire education paid for by the lottery.
All of her college was paid for from the lottery. So Alabama really needs to look at what they can do for the younger generation coming up and help them with education.
Alabama lawmakers still have to approve the bill. That would set up a vote to change Alabama's constitution, which would legalize gambling. And Alabama last voted back in 1999. I'm live in Ardmore with coverage you can count on. Jillian Kay, WAAY 31 News.
Thanks, Jillian. A retired judge is now overseeing criminal proceedings involving an indicted Lauderdale County judge. Gil Self faces more than a dozen criminal charges after his indictment for using his position for personal gain. Because of his position as a judge, other Lauderdale County judges recused themselves. We have learned retired Marshall County Judge Tim Jolly will now handle proceedings in Self's case. So far, no date has been set for Self to face the judge.
Now to the latest legal setback for former President Donald Trump. A federal judge ruled against the former president's claim of immunity in the federal case accusing him of trying to overturn the 2020 election. Trump attacked the decision and vowed to appeal, saying that in order to do the job effectively, a president must have complete and absolute immunity.
You're going to have to allow a president, any president, to have immunity so that that president can act and do what he feels and what his group of advisors feel is the absolute right thing.
Now, the case is expected to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Trump's legal troubles also continue in Colorado. Tomorrow, Supreme Court justices will hear arguments on a ruling that banned him from the state's primary ballot. Well, the bipartisan border deal and foreign aid package just failed to pass the Senate vote after months of negotiations.
Democrats say it's because Republicans are getting their marching orders from former President Donald Trump, who has attacked the bill. Julia Benbrook has the latest developments from the Capitol.
The motion is not agreed to.
A Senate vote on a major bipartisan border deal and foreign aid package failed Wednesday afternoon. Republicans demanded that border security be a part of the bill, but turned against it after facing pressure from former President Donald Trump.
My colleagues in the United States Senate have decided that they don't actually want this solution and don't want to secure the border.
Several GOP senators insist their opposition to the bill has nothing to do with Trump's public comments bashing it.
This just blew up in Leader McConnell's face, and now he's trying to blame President Trump, who, to the best of my knowledge, I haven't talked to him. I'm not sure anybody on the stage has talked to him. We wanted to secure the border. That is why we are voting no.
The $118 billion bill also includes aid to Ukraine and Israel, two U.S. allies at a time of war. It also funds humanitarian assistance for civilians in Gaza. On Tuesday, President Joe Biden weighed in on the deal debacle.
By opposing this bill, they're denying aid to the people who are really suffering and desperately need help. So Republicans have to decide, who do they serve? Donald Trump or the American people?
Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
As conflict in Gaza wages on, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was in Israel pressing leaders for a humanitarian pause in the Israel-Hamas war. Blinken's visit happening as Hamas has presented a counteroffer to a hostage and truce framework aimed at the release of hostages in Gaza and a stop to the fighting.
Looking at it intensely, as is, I know, the government of Israel, and there's a lot of work to be done.
Secretary Blinken also met with the president of the Palestinian Authority, pushing for reforms aimed at the eventual goal that the group would be able to govern a unified West Bank and Gaza. COVID vaccines might be good for preventing serious illness from the disease.
And they may also help prevent premature births. ABC's Aika Jachi explains.
COVID-19 infection while pregnant has been linked to a slightly higher likelihood of premature births, a frightening notion for soon-to-be parents. However, a recent study reveals that vaccines may help decrease this risk. Researchers at the University of Wisconsin-Madison looked at the birth records of siblings born to the same mother in California from 2014 to 2023. They found that COVID-19 infection at the time of delivery increased the risk of preterm birth by just over 1%. But the risk was largest early on in the pandemic and then decreased over time, likely due to the COVID-19 vaccine. The decline in the preterm birth rate happened at the same time as COVID vaccines became widespread. The researchers also looked at various zip codes in California. They found that areas with higher vaccination rates saw the decline in preterm births significantly faster than areas where the vaccination rates were lower, suggesting that vaccines were a major factor in preventing the increased risk of premature births. It's just another reason to stay up to date with your vaccines. With this Medical Minute, I'm Aika Jachi, ABC News.
A missing military helicopter found. Authorities now ramping up their search efforts for 5 Marines on board.
And another casualty in the massive storm slamming California. One community mourning the loss of their longtime neighbor.
Knowing your personal and family heart history can help determine risk. More on this tonight on WAAY 31 News at 6.
Coverage you can count on. You're watching WAAY 31 News at 5 with Dan Schaefer, Marie Waxel, and Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle.
Happening now, an urgent search is underway for 5 missing Marines after their helicopter crashed. First responders found the chopper, but so far no sign of the Marines. Officials report they were on a training flight and the weather was not good. At this hour, it's still not clear exactly what caused that helicopter to go down. Also happening now, the NTSB is looking into why an Alaska Airlines jet was missing 4 key bolts. This comes after January's mid-air door plug blowout. The NTSB traced the missing bolts to Boeing's Washington State plant, where the plug was removed to make repairs before the jet was delivered to Alaska Airlines. Now, to find out why, they've requested process documentation from Boeing. The NTSB also says they're digging into FAA oversight. In June, the NTSB is returning to East Palestine, Ohio, to reveal its investigative findings from last year's Norfolk Southern derailment. That derailment happened back in February and involved 11 tank cars carrying hazardous materials. It fueled a massive blaze and prompted a 1-mile evacuation zone that affected up to 2,000 people. The NTSB set a series of public meetings on June 24th and 26th to release its official findings.
A California community is mourning the loss of a woman after a tree fell on her. The Sacramento County coroner says the 63-year-old was found underneath a large tree in her backyard Tuesday morning. It marks the county's second storm-related death in this latest storm. Neighbors say they wish they could have been there to help.
Just appreciate our neighborhood, and we do look out for each other, and sorry that we weren't there for her when she needed us.
A woman's identity still has not yet been released.
Now, WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle with 31 Triple Doppler.
Started out nice, bright, sunny. The sun's setting behind us.
Gorgeous sunset there, but you can notice the more clouds have moved in.
They are, and that is a precursor to rain. I wish I wasn't talking about rain all week, even though we've had this sunny weather, but always wanted to give you the alert to what the next big thing is, and that is going to be rain for the weekend, and unfortunately that has not changed. Let's talk about those rain chances heading forward over the next 5 days. We'll still squeak through tomorrow on a dry note. That's some positive news, but the clouds will be back. Not going to have the beautiful sunshine like we've enjoyed here so far this week. Showers are back on Friday, and then we've got Saturday, which is just going to be wet the way it's looking right now. Perhaps some steadier rainfall through the day, maybe some heavier rain as well. Still damp on Sunday. Showers will continue into Monday, but they will be wrapping up again early next week, and we will return to some sunshine and some dry weather throughout the remainder of next week. So we get through the weekend, and I should get back to some quieter conditions after that. All right, as promised at 4 o'clock, let's take you through the latest future radar here, talking about the weekend rainfall starting Friday morning, and there will be some areas of showers. Notice, though, rain not everywhere, and that will be the trend through your Friday. So it is not going to be persistent wet weather across the area. There will be some of you that pick up a little bit, some of you maybe not much at all. As we head into your Saturday, though, it does look like the rain will become a little bit more widespread. We start you off Saturday morning, raining just outside of the area, but through the day on Saturday, rain will continue to develop and to move into southern Middle Tennessee and northern Alabama. So expect it to get wetter through the day on Saturday. It'll stay soggy Saturday evening, Saturday night. We may get a little break early Sunday morning, 6 a.m., so headed out to church early in the day Sunday, perhaps a break in the wet weather, but indications are there'll be another wave of rain that will set in here later Sunday afternoon. We stop this around 6 o'clock in the evening, and so some steadier rain will be likely heading into Sunday night, with those showers and the wet weather continuing into Monday as well, before finally tapering off for good by the time we hit Tuesday or so of next week. Right now, though, WAAY 31 Triple Doppler Network, it is still showing quiet weather all across the area. Should stay that way this evening and on into tonight. Overnight lows will still be a little bit on the chilly side, but with the cloud cover coming in, we won't cool off quite as much as the last couple nights, so should stay above freezing in most spots. Some of the colder spots, Gadsden to Fort Payne, mid-30s there, but Huntsville, Madison out towards Decatur, Athens, mostly into the low 40s. Similar numbers are expected out there in northwest Alabama towards the Shoals. We'll break down your forecast here through the day tomorrow, and again, overcast skies back, but we should keep rain at bay until perhaps late tomorrow. mostly into the evening and the overnight hours is when some of those showers will begin to creep back in. Temperatures start in the mid-40s around 8 in the morning for the commute, 56 degrees around the noon hour, and we'll make it to near 60 tomorrow afternoon. The main reason, while we'll still manage to warm up despite the lack of sunshine, that south breeze around 10, pumping in that milder air ahead of that next weather maker. About 61 for Scottsboro tomorrow, a little cooler though. Higher elevations there in Skyline, 56 there, 60 in Hazel Green, Meridianville, down to Huntsville as well. 61 Decatur, 60 in Athens, and we'll see more 60s out here towards the Shoals, including Russellville and Florence. 10-day forecast looking like this. Dry tomorrow. Rain though, wet weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday as well. Temperatures though, despite the wet weather, remain mild for a few more days, holding in the 60s for those highs before we do start to cool off again next week. Not a significant though drop in the temperatures, back into the 50s for highs. That's actually a little more typical for early February than the 60s, even the mid and upper 60s, in fact, that we've had for most of this week so far.
But it's been nice to enjoy it.
It has. Great to get outside and walk, just enjoy. Little hint of spring. We know it'll be here before we know it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Now you can name a cat's litter box after your awful ex. We'll show you how and why after the break. New at 5, PR Hub just released its latest report on America's most popular rom-coms.
So this comes after the production of romantic comedies surged in 2023 with the average of 3 films hitting the screens each month. 3 a month last year. The report found this. Clueless is the nation's favorite rom-com in 21 states. That takes us back to 1995.
Wow, yeah.
But are you seeing this? Alabamians hold a particular fondness for Julia Roberts because Pretty Woman is very popular here for rom-com viewers in the southern part of the U.S. Is that Welcome to Hollywood? What's your dream?
I like Sleepless in Seattle. That was good.
Oh, it is a good one. Well, starting today, you can name your litter box after your ex in the Florence Animal Shelter's adoption room. Yes, this is a thing, and it is just going to set you back $10. Your ex's name will only be on the box for one day, but it's for a good cause. All donations will go towards their animals.
Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Jeff Kessel joining us now with a check on the forecast.
Yeah. Clouds rolling in, rain is on the way.
Yeah, rain, that's usually an indication. Cloud cover first, thickens up, rain comes in, and we're still expecting that. Arriving as we close out the week, rain coverage heading into your Friday will be a little scattered to maybe some numerous showers at times, and this will just be kind of a preview of what your weekend is looking like, which is going to be a bit soggy at times. We will have another update on those weekend rain chances coming up at 6 o'clock.
All right.
WAAY 31 gives you 24/7 coverage you can count on, local news, breaking news, and severe weather.
Remember, you can watch all of us on our streaming platforms and download the Only Weather app with 3 live Doppler radars. World News Tonight with David Muir starts in just a few minutes right here on WAAY 31.